Welcome back to Bonds in a Blink, our monthly review of fixed income markets. It's been a fairly volatile month with turbulence in global markets also affecting fixed income. As you can see from the chart, the European bond market went through a correction that wasn't dramatic but certainly noticeable. The last few days, though, a large part of that move has been recovered. And another point that stands out from the performance of these indices is that the bond market have moved largely in sync with limited dispersion. Government bonds and corporate bonds, high yield and bank debt all followed a similar path. The reason is simple. The correction we've seen was driven mainly by duration, not by credit risk. And this is clear in this chart. What came under the greatest pressure were interest rate expectations. Here we show the market expected policy rates for the end of 2026 in Europe, the United States, and United Kingdom. As you can see, expectations jumped sharply and remained elevated. At the start of the year, investors still believed central banks had room to cut rates further. Today, the market is pricing a very different scenario, one in which rate hikes, not cuts, are seen as the most likely next step. By contrast, the correction in credit risk has been much more limited. As the chart shows, both the high yield and the investment grade markets experienced only a modest widening in spreads. Compared with the moves seen in past crises, the increase has been extremely small, almost hard to detect, even on this chart. It is also well below the correction we saw in April 2025. With spreads barely moving, we don't see many new opportunities in the traditional credit space. So we've gone looking elsewhere, in a segment that is currently under pressure. It is a niche sector, but still a sizable one, illiquid private debt. In the United States, there are vehicles known as business development companies, or BDCs. These are firms that invest in illiquid debt, mainly private loans. What makes them especially interesting is that they, in turn, issue liquid bonds, which are easy for investors to access. These are mostly corporate bonds, BBB rated, denominated in US dollars, with maturities typically ranging from 3 to 7 years. It is a complex sector, and we've assigned a specialist to follow it closely, our colleague Guglielmo Zaffaroni. I will now hand over to him to explain the three reasons why we believe this segment offers compelling opportunities right now.
First, we like the risk premium. These instruments are rated BBB, but look at the chart. Today, these bonds offer spreads that are far wider than those of a typical BBB bond. Second, we are protected by the legal structure of a BDC. Financial leverage is subject to a strict statutory cap, and regulation also places limits on dividend distributions in order to protect bond repayment. Third, we perform extensive due diligence on every target vehicle. We invest in the strongest structures managed by the best teams. And even in the face of significant redemption requests, these structures still retain ample flexibility to repay their bonds.
Thank you, Guglielmo. So, to sum up, in this highly volatile environment, we remain cautious on industrial high yield. We haven't exited the asset class, but the positions we still hold have been selected very carefully, because on average we believe the spreads in this part of the market are not sufficient to compensate for credit risk. We continue, instead, to see attractive opportunities in subordinated financial debt, also because idiosyncratic risk at the individual issuer level remains relatively contained for now. And finally, as mentioned, we are increasing our indirect exposure to private debt through the selective purchase of bonds issued by BDCs. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you in the next edition of Bonds in a Blink.